Welcome back. You're still watching the Nile article, and to be shedding more light on the evolving bilateral relations between Egypt and Cyprus, and of course the trilateral summits that have taken place under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, comprising Egypt, Greece and Cyprus. I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Dr. Mohamed Ezaby, the international relations expert. Thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us tonight on Nile TV International and the Nile article.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, and I have the honor to be with you.
The honor is all mine. Dr. Mohamed, of course, we have seen the evolving trilateral relations between Egypt, Greece and Cyprus, and even with Turkey under the tenure of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on the diplomatic, the economic and in the energy fields as well. How would you assess such a success and the resilience of this trilateral relationship for the past 10 or 12 years?
Well, we know that from the beginning of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi became the President of Egypt, he gave great attention to the relations with the Mediterranean countries, especially that Egypt wants to be a center for exporting the energy to all the world. Especially also that Egypt have LNG facilities for Europe. So Egypt and Greece and Cyprus, Turkey make negotiations about making Egypt a center for exporting LNG for all countries of Europe and other countries in Africa. Also, the cooperation between Egypt and Cyprus and Turkey and Greece, Egypt put an attention to investments that can be shared from these countries in Egypt, especially that Egypt have a lot of opportunities that be a chance for the investors from this country. So the negotiations and the bilateral talks between His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and President of Greece and Cyprus and Turkey make talks about many things, not only about LNG, not only about the investment, but also they talks about what's happening in the Middle East and the area, and try to put an end for all the struggles in the area, especially that Egypt and Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan play a great role as a mediator between the United States and Iran to put an end for this war. So this is very important for Egypt to make negotiations to unify the point of view for all these countries. Egypt, Turkey is a member of NATO. Egypt is the greatest country in the Middle East. Greece also in Europe, a member of European Unity community. So what is happening from His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is trying to verify the channels of mediators, the channels of countries that can make a pressure on both parties in the struggle to put an end for this. So also Egypt, about Mediterranean partnership, if we talk about Egypt and Cyprus and Greece and Turkey have many gas sources, and they can share in many projects that can give benefits for all countries.
Yes, Dr. Mohamed, how do you see the wisdom of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the political leadership in the country, especially in keeps of maintaining the trilateral relations between Egypt, Greece and Cyprus. And not just this balance, but we also have the national interests at heart of the Egyptians for Egypt, and especially when it comes to the energy domain and the cooperation in the field of energy between Egypt, Greece and Cyprus, and the competition with the neighboring countries as well in the Mediterranean. And it was very evident when we had the demarcation lines outlined between all three countries for the energy resources in the Mediterranean.
Well, we can say that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi engagement with the leaderships of Greece, Cyprus and Turkey in Al Alamein should be understood within a broader Egyptian strategy aimed to reinforcing Egypt as a central diplomatic and strategic actor in the Eastern Mediterranean. The timing is particularly significant. The Egypt-Turkey relationship have been moving through a process of institutional normalization and strategic expansion, while Cairo continued to regard its partnership with Greece and Cyprus as a cornerstone of its Eastern Mediterranean policy. Recent Egyptian-Turkish consultation in Al Alamein also covered the implementation of decisions from February 2026 Strategic Cooperation Council, demonstrating that relationship with Ankara is increasingly being institutionalized rather than managing through episodic political context. The most important strategic message is that Egypt doesn't want the Eastern Mediterranean to become a rigged system of competing alliances. Cairo have developed a strong strategic relationship with Athens and Nicosia, while simultaneously rebuilding relations with Ankara. This requires a sophisticated diplomatic balancing act rather than choosing between Greece, Cyprus, Axis and Turkey. Egypt attempting to maintain channels with all three sides and use its own geopolitical weight to encourage cooperation and dialogue and practical cooperation with all these countries. If we talk about the projects of gas and the economic space, the Eastern Mediterranean is increasingly shaped by energy, maritime transport, LNG infrastructure, electricity, interconnection, tourism and investment. Egypt's relationship with Greece and Cyprus already has an important economic and energy component. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry has emphasized expanding the trilateral cooperation framework with Greece and Cyprus into economic, trade, investment, energy and tourism sectors. At the same time, Cairo and Ankara are expanding economic cooperation. The August 2026 Egyptian-Turkish planning meeting in Al Alamein, including amendment to protocol government rules of origin under the bilateral free trade framework and discussions concerning transport productivity.
Yes, Dr. Mohamed Ezaby, of course, we have seen the role of Egypt in terms of the mediation for the Gaza crisis and the aggression by the Israeli occupation forces against the innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip ever since October of 2023, and we are still trying to be implementing the second phase of the plan put by the US President Donald Trump, and to be fully implementing the first phase of the plan as well. But how did you see the importance of having closer bilateral political and economic relationship with the rest of the Mediterranean countries, and more specifically with Turkey, when it came to the mediation efforts for the Gaza crisis?
Well, the Mediterranean diplomacy cannot be separated from the broader Middle East crisis. Egypt and Turkey increasingly share concerns regarding Gaza and the necessity of diplomatic efforts to contain regional escalation. Recent Egyptian-Turkish consultations have emphasized regional development and the importance of diplomatic coordination. Egypt's unique advantages is that it maintains communication channels with a wide spectrum of actors. This gives Cairo an active role. Egypt can speak simultaneously to Arab states, Turkey, European partners, and Western powers. That make Egyptian diplomacy particularly valuable at the moment when regional politics are increasingly fragmented.
Yes, Doctor. Yes.
What is happening from Egypt now is a try to force Benjamin Netanyahu to stop their strike towards Gaza and also make bilateral negotiations with many countries discussing what's happening in the West Bank from Smotrich and Ben Gvir, the project of E1. Egypt rejected this project and try now diplomatically to prevent Israel to continue in this project, especially if this project happens. It means that the West Bank becomes Israeli and it will end the Palestinian issue. So Egypt made a great effort to end this project, especially Israel now is an election. And I said on this great channel from today that Likud will lose the next elections and Benjamin Netanyahu will not exist in the next government. Yes. And it will facilitate the efforts of Egypt to resolve what's happening in the West Bank and in Gaza.
Yes, and finally, Dr. Mohamed, speaking about the bilateral relationship between Egypt and Libya, as we have seen for the past week or so, the meeting and the reception of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the commander of the Libyan National Army Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar. How do you see the importance of close bilateral relationships and bilateral ties between Egypt and Libya affecting positively the illegal migration rates into the European Union, and more specifically for the Mediterranean countries such as Greece, Cyprus and Turkey?
Well, Egypt remains one of the most consequential regional actors in the crisis, and its current approach is increasingly focused on political refaction rather than simply managing the division between Libya's eastern and western camps. As of August 2026, Cairo has intensified contact with virtually all major Libyan stakeholders. Yes. His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar in New Alamein on August 19, shortly after receiving Prime Minister Abdelhamid Dibeiba. Egypt has also maintained contacts with Parliament speakers Aqila Saleh and other Libyan political actors. So we know that Turkey have a role in Libya, and Turkey supports Abdelhamid Dibeiba government. So by unifying the situations between Egypt and Turkey about Libya, it will be easy to unify or save the unity of the land of Libya by the efforts of Egypt and the efforts of Turkey together.
Dr. Mohamed Ezaby, the foreign relations expert, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International and the Nile Oracle. And this brings us to the end of the episode for tonight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.